We're getting near the end of the year, and there has been a lot of great stuff released on the PC. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the PC games you needed to give a shot in 2021. Starting out with number 20, it's Forza Horizon 5. Obviously, this also came out on Xbox, but the PC is, of course, where you get the best graphics, the most control over the graphics, etc. And what a beautiful racing game it is. Pretty much everything you like about the Forza Horizon series, with this huge, really well-made Mexico map, and the new Horizon Arcade mode, which is a fun multiplayer minigame mode I've actually wasted a ton of time with. Forza Horizon 5 is fantastic. Play it on PC as soon as you can. At number 19 is Hell Let Loose. This is a 100-player infantry-based World War II game that has much more to it than meets the eye. You look at it, looks like every other World War II game. However, there are layers. For instance, there's base building, there's 2 layers of commanders, and there's a layer of RTS management type stuff in it. It's actually a really novel concept that I think works really well. I enjoy this game a lot, but given it is so specific in what it's doing, it's one that I do think is a little more divisive. However, I would say it's not just another World War II game. Give Hell Let Loose a spin, and I think a pretty fair amount of you will find it's a damn good game. And number 18 is Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, which attempts to take the Pathfinder Kingmaker formula into a more dark area, having a more angels versus demons type aesthetic, and exploring more of the evil aspects of the world. The game makes a number of improvements over Kingmaker, and it makes it one of the better top-down isometric style RPGs. In my opinion, really just fantastic. There are a few little bugs, but I'm sure those are going to get fixed and are definitely not something that should influence your decision on this game. And number 17 is Ready or Not, a tactical FPS that's in early access that's a pretty interesting title. More or less, it's a SWAT game where you have to defuse various high-stakes situations, either peacefully or, you know, like a SWAT team typically does in video games. It is a tactical shooter, keep in mind. This is a game where you really have to treat it like a detailed simulation of what could happen in a high-octane SWAT mission. In a lot of games, it's kind of a spiritual successor to the SWAT series, and although it is still in early access, a couple of things could use a little work. Team management and AI probably being the most obvious, but still, everything's really top-notch. This is one of those games where you're paying $40 for something that really feels like a $60 game. Like, this is genuinely well above expectation, and it's almost kind of shocking there isn't more AAA experiences like this, and this is great. Like, I enjoy playing this game. And number 16 is Back 4 Blood, the, for all intents and purposes, spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. The original devs are back, giving us what I think probably would be Left 4 Dead 3, because it's the logical progression of the series. Like, we have all of these interesting upgrades, changes, quality of life improvements, but at its core, it's the game that we all want to play. It looks way better, too. I love how this game looks. I mean, I've just been enjoying the hell out of it. Back 4 Blood kicks ass. And number 15 is Scarlet Nexus, this really interesting anime aesthetic story that takes place in this world in which everybody has psychic powers. I mean, it's really along the lines of Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, but it also really has its own identity in terms of its like camera work and visuals. Obviously, the look's very anime inspired, but it doesn't also just feel like a ripoff of a Platinum Games game. Like, there's a lot of interesting visual flourishes, and the gameplay is fantastic. Powers are fantastic. Story takes a little while to get moving, but once you get there, this game is just enjoyable as hell. At number 14 is Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is kind of Square Enix saying, we get it. We know we were wrong. Here, this is what we could do right. And oddly enough, like, man, do they really nail it. It is a unique game. There's a lot we could talk about in terms of what it does right, but particularly it's the combat. They give you this very unique squad-based combat where you're sort of doing Final Fantasy VII remake style stuff in the context of like a pretty damn well-made action game. It's fully a single-player game. I just like it way better than Avengers. I was worried they weren't going to get it right and they were just kind of go like hardcore in the opposite direction, which often isn't really like a vision. It's just kind of rejecting the previous game to try to make up for Avengers, but they actually did something fairly unique and good. And number 13 is Humankind, a sort of answer to Civilization that makes a number of interesting and an innovative take on the 4X genre. Kind of a lot of the things that people didn't like about Civ 6. This game is like, hey, look, we're doing it right. And really, that's the truth. There are some interesting additions, like these sort of diplomacy, peace negotiations type elements. It's hard to reduce this down to like a 30-second segment. It's a very detailed game, and it does everything I would ask it to do. Really a fantastic game. If you like Civilization, and Civilization 6 maybe rubbed you the wrong way a little bit, try out Humankind. Even if you liked Civ 6, it's really like the best possible take on this right now. At number 12 is It Takes Two, a purely co-op game by Hazelight, the developers of A Way Out. Now, obviously, this is a game that is influenced in ways by A Way Out, but it's much more of like a traditional platformer and has a lot of really big, faster-paced sequences. The plot is about a divorcing couple who gets magically sucked into some of their kids' dolls. I always have trouble describing the plot because it's kind of silly, but it's actually a very serious plot that plays out in a actually very touching and good way. But the co-op platforming that this game brings is also phenomenal. Like, this studio really knows what they're doing. A Way Out is great. I think It Takes Two is actually a better game. I'm not sure yet. I think that it's going to take time, but I have a feeling I will go back to It Takes Two more. At number 11 is The Ascent, a co-op action shooter top-down RPG hybrid that has been called by quite a few different people a top-down twin-stick shooter with Diablo elements, and I think that that's a pretty good description. You're basically trying to fight your way out of this massive cyberpunk city. It's absolutely beautiful, and if I'm honest, I enjoy the hell out of this game. This is exactly what I would want from it if you described it to me and said, hey, this exists. I enjoyed it more than Cyberpunk. This is the Cyberpunk game for me. And number 10 is Hitman 3, the conclusion to the World of Assassination trilogy, and probably, in terms of all around, the best of the 3 new Hitman games. And that's saying a lot, because these are perhaps the best Hitman games, in all honesty. They've taken full advantage of everything they possibly can in terms of tech to bring really just one damn innovative and fun, above all else, game. This is such a creative, experimental, and enjoyable game that just nails its level design. These are clearly seasoned pros with decades of experience with this game concept, giving you the best possible version of it. And number 9 is Deathloop, that basically, in my opinion, plays like a slightly faster paced Dishonored that takes place in a time loop with some great roguelike and detective elements, I would say, with a really well-made story, acted incredibly well, just absolutely beyond fun. In terms of what you would expect from an arcane game, or for that matter, a full-priced game, I'm not being critical when I say this, but some players will probably say this isn't enough. It is enough for me, and I really like it. I think that it's something different, and I think it really accomplishes what it sets out to do. I enjoy the hell out of it. At number 8 is Tales of Arise, an incredibly pretty entry into the Tales series, definitely bringing us into the next generation in terms of the graphics, but it's also got an intriguing story about 2 different worlds, one medieval, one technologically advanced, and their clash told between the 2 protagonists, both from each different world. Really, it's just a fine example of a Tales game with a good story and amazing visuals, a slightly updated but still familiar battle system that just does exactly what you want it to do. I enjoy the hell out of Tales of Arise. I had been waiting for it for a long time, and it delivered. At number 7 is Death's Door, a kind of Zelda-like, but with a totally different aesthetic. This is a really interesting action-adventure game that takes a sort of macabre color palette, sometimes just outwardly black and white with some reds, and gives us something that looks totally different but feels very familiar. A lot of great exploration, great puzzle solving, and enjoyable combat. It's also out on various platforms. It looks better on the PC. I think that its really simple aesthetic is gorgeous. And again, I love the combat and all of the puzzle stuff. If you like any era of Zelda, it's worth playing. And number 6 is The Forgotten City, a time loop adventure set in ancient Rome. And although there are some controversies about the narrative, I actually think that the story is enough to play this game. But this is a fantastic sort of mystery adventure. You do a lot of exploring, but also a lot of detective work. And it's one of those games that really handles that line well. It's not perfect, but it's like a mystery adventure RPG that was released in 2015 as a mod for Skyrim and made into a full game. This is a really good game. And number 5 is Chivalry 2, a follow-up to a game made almost 10 years ago, Chivalry Medieval Warfare, which is really just exactly what it says it is. It's a fantastic hack-and-slash multiplayer game that Chivalry 2 really just takes and runs with. Chivalry 2 is not only a much better-looking game, but there are a lot of really enjoyable modes in it, like the new Brawl mode, and then, of course, the Team Objective mode, which you see these large-scale, like, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings type battles, and it's a great experience. Like, Chivalry 2 is really an enjoyable game. If you think that a medieval hack and slash melee oriented warfare large scale battle simulator sounds fun, you're right, it is. And then at number 4 is Halo Infinite. Now, for one, basically everything about Halo Infinite has received praise by not only the community, but other reviewers, particularly the esteemed crew of Jake and company here at gameranx. And I don't have a lot to say that's going to contradict them. I pretty much back up everything Jake says in the Before You Buys, which I definitely recommend. They're good deep dives into these. Anybody who's been around gameranx for a while knows that I lean towards single player when I'm playing games, but I also found the multiplayer pretty refreshing. It's free to play, it doesn't add any major complications, and it sort of just confidently projects itself as another Halo game that really gets what Halo is, and in multiplayer that really shines through. Perhaps for the best that it's been in a long time, but I particularly enjoy the campaign. This is an open world Halo game that really smacks you in the face with some crazy stuff early on. And number 3 is Eastward, which is this really interesting title. You will really enjoy this game if you enjoy Zelda. It is such a different take on what a Zelda game is because it's hyper linear. You're literally going in a direction on a train. And this also causes some changes in mechanics. For instance, you can't really backtrack, but that's okay. This is a narrative, and it's an interesting narrative that is beautiful, clearly inspired by Studio Ghibli, and it just nails the gameplay. It is a really fun, linear take on the older school Zelda type game with just fantastic graphics, tons of charm, personality, everything you want in an indie game like this. At number 2, there's just no way to get around this. Resident Evil Village came out this year, and it's in terms of Resident Evil, really a good game. I mean, yes, big hot vampire lady, we know. I don't think I need to talk about that too much here. But really in terms of the story, characterization, and gameplay, this is just a fantastic Resident Evil game. I enjoyed this game from start to finish. I will play it again in the near future. It's one that I've been coming back to because it is just loaded up with the personality that makes this series so great. Where in 7, they sort of slowly brought in all of the typical Resident Evil elements in a manner that felt like a really cool reveal. And yes, I think it really worked for that game. I was ready to get back to this epic Resident Evil weirdness, and it's there. Especially together with 7, this is a fantastic entry, and this saga that's been going on, I think is really cool. Finally, and of course, we have to talk about Age of Empires 4. Now, we're talking about these games for like between 30 seconds and a minute, so this is going to be an oversimplification for sure. This is what Age of Empires should be in 2021. I am really, really happy with this game. If you've ever played the older games, I want to say it is really along the lines of a combination of 1 and 2 with a lot of modern sensibilities. And things like the AI aren't tainted like in Age of Empires 3, where it was kind of a cheap AI, in my opinion. In terms of real-time strategy and city building, though, this is really just an Age of Empires that learned the lessons of the first few games, applied them, and really gave us a great new entry. I think the fact that Microsoft remastered all of the games and really spent time with them did the trick here. A few bonus games for you, starting off with Wildermyth, a procedurally generated tactical RPG that has a really interesting look, and it also takes a lot of time to keep its characters in focus. Psychonauts 2, which updates, but not reinvents the 2005 original. It brings a lot of good stuff into the mix without getting too far from what we originally saw. It's kind of like, if you can imagine, a 2005 adventure platformer collectathon with a lot of modern sensibilities, updates, quality of life type improvements. Moving on to Lone Echo 2, an adventure game that continues the story of Lone Echo in VR. Kena Bridge of Spirits, this really interesting, obviously Breath of the Wild inspired, story-driven action-adventure exploration, all-around fun game. Next is Hot Wheels Unleashed, a game I would describe as somewhere between Mario Kart and F-Zero. It has a track editor, so there's basically endless replayability if you like it, and I very much do. Next is Little Nightmares 2, the continuation of the original game's narrative. It's actually a prequel, but it does a lot to fill out what goes on. Next is Ender Lily, Quietus of the Nights, a 2D action RPG that takes a very different spin on the Metroidvania-style game by making it so you actually summon ghosts to do the combat for you. You're just a harmless little girl walking around. Great take, incredible level design, beautiful visuals. Moving on, it's Mass Effect Legendary Edition, an update that really helps with the original Mass Effect, particularly in quality of life, graphical updates, etc., and gives you the entire trilogy. That's not to say it doesn't have its own little issues that it creates, but probably the best way to experience these games currently. Next is Chicory, a colorful tale, a 2D adventure game that takes place in a black and white world that you can paint on. And finally, Grime, a Metroidvania where you take a long adventure absorbing various things. This is all great stuff, but what did you play this year? Did you enjoy the stuff we enjoyed? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.